This video is the New versus Old World, Part 2. It is further observation, bringing clarity, given the importance of the topic. What I want to talk about here is not new and it's not speculative. Old World composure and structural formality is something that has repeated across history, cultures, political systems, and economic models. The critical factor is this. When human systems scale beyond human meaning, they begin to harm the very people they claim to serve. The old world is built on centralization, abstraction, distance between decision and consequence, and systems so large that no one inside them feels responsible anymore. Humanity and responsibility are sacrificed in this mix. In those systems, humans stop being participants, they become inputs. And once that happens, harm is no longer an accident. It becomes predictable. When populations experience chronic anxiety, loss of meaning, and the sense that they no longer matter as individuals, they become psychologically vulnerable. And at that point, crowds don't think the way individuals do. They seek certainty, belonging, and relief. And they will accept almost anything that promises these things. This is where terms like mass psychosis leading to mass formation come in. There's lots of research available on this now, of course. Not as insults or labels, but as descriptions of what happens when people are disconnected from one another, disconnected from purpose, and flooded with a single repetitive narrative. Under those conditions, the crowd doesn't need to be forced. It instead self-organizes around a false belief that can be witnessed, as many know now. Dissent doesn't feel threatening because it's wrong. It feels threatening because it destabilizes a story that is holding the crowd together. Now here's the uncomfortable part. This system was nurtured and engineered a long time ago. Components are bureaucracy, pushing fictitious mandates, financial abstraction, and centralized authority. This fosters compliance over conscience. Not because people are malicious, but because incentives and propaganda quietly reshape behavior. Over time, responsibility diffuses, language becomes sanitized, and outcomes become detached from intent. And at that point, no one is steering the collective. The system is. And this is where money enters the picture as an architectural fundamental of control. When money becomes debt-based, interest-driven, and most importantly, divorced from real human contribution, it begins to dictate behavior. People work not because their work is meaningful, but because survival requires participation. This has become the accepted norm. And that changes relationships and communities. It changes what people will tolerate. Again, not because people are weak, but because systems apply pressure, quietly and constantly. Eventually, the propaganda becomes unavoidable. If a system's survival depends on growth, and growth depends on compliance and psychological alignment, then people stop being citizens. They are no longer neighbors. Most importantly, they stop being sovereign. They become managed populations. Harvested not with whips, but with narratives, incentives, and fear. The new Earth structure differs because it has a foundation of equality and the ability to provide basic survival needs to all. It points toward contribution instead of extraction, and meaning instead of compliance. Also, soul-based value is important rather than values placed on external things, as in our societies today. Ideas like contributionism, Ubuntu, and unity models replace the dog-eat-dog world. They remind us that peace and unity are the components to move us forward. We were never meant to be in permanent emergency, nor endless hierarchy, nor even units in a machine. And this is the part people resist. The old world cannot be fixed by reform alone, because its problems are foundational. The components of a broken system in this case are the human beings driving the system itself. You cannot make a system humane once it becomes inhumane scale to survive. You can only outgrow it, move it aside. So what is required to overturn the features of the old world, features that can be traced to harm and stand against many in the population? Well, if you can see these patterns, you don't need to be told what to do. You will naturally stop giving your life energy to systems that do not return it. And at that point, what is needed is a secure structural foundation based upon the needs of the individual. Those that are familiar with the open source organization of things will be able to see how this structural foundation is not only possible, but just a step away. This is the difference between the old and the new. Consent, alignment, and freedom from a benevolent sector, formulating critical mass is all that is required. Truth is freedom.